This is my 7th lecture on Taoism in my cable TV series, The Mystical Paths of the World's Religions. In my previous lectures, I analyzed in detail chapters 38, 39, and 40 of the Taoist text, the Tao Te Ching. I gave teachings of scholars and my own commentary. Today I will pursue the theme of the sage, the holy man. This theme runs through a number of chapters of the Tao Te Ching and other Taoist texts. As we have seen, every religion portrays its ideal of the holy man. In Taoism, he is called the perfect man. Taoism's perfect man is our universal mystic. Taoist texts describe him as the man who could ascend the loftiest heights without fear, could enter the water and not get wet, could enter the fire and not get burned. Perfected people, they say, lean on a pillar that is never shaken, travel a road that is never blocked, are endowed from a resource that is never exhausted, and learn from a teacher that never dies. They are successful in whatever they undertake and arrive wherever they go. Whatever they do, they embrace destiny and go along without confusion. Calamity, fortune, profit, and harm cannot trouble their minds. They govern the inside, not the outside. Their attention is focused internally. They keep to the simplicity of wholeness and stand in the center of the quintessential. I invite you to probe with me now the perfect man and the questions he has answered on the mysteries of the Tao. How you can lean on a pillar that is never shaken and travel a road that is never blocked. How can you tap a resource that is never exhausted and learn from a teacher that never dies? How can you be successful in whatever you undertake and embrace your destiny? How can you govern the inside and go along without confusion? And how can you focus your attention internally and stand in the center of the quintessential? Well, we thought that the answers to these questions have come out of the current self-help books, and lo and behold, they are thousands upon thousands of years old. First, a little background. I say a little because the origins of Taoism are obscure. The 6th century BC Chinese sage Lao Tzu is traditionally named as the founder of Taoism, but we know next to nothing about him. Some even claim he is a legendary figure. Lao Tzu's name means old master or master Lao. It is a term of endearment and respect. China's first historian, Sima Qian, said that Lao Tzu held the position of shi in the royal court. In those days, a shi was a scholar who specialized in astrology and divination and was in charge of sacred books. Sima Qian also said that Lao Tzu was an older contemporary of Confucius. He related a meeting between the two men at which Lao Tzu chided Confucius for his pride, his excessive ambition, and overzealous drive to reform the world. Perhaps that is why Confucius is ascended and Lao Tzu is unascended. Confucius was so impressed by the old master that he compared him to a mysterious dragon who could not be caught and who ascended to heaven on the winds and clouds. Taoist tradition portrays Lao Tzu as a simple, unassertive, and profoundly mystical man. Although he is known as the founder of one of the world's great religions, Lao Tzu didn't preach. He didn't create a movement or an organization, and he didn't pass on his teachings to a group of followers. Legend has it that the sage, foreseeing the decay of his civilization, set off alone for the western frontier. the guardian of the mountain pass, beseeched him to write down his teachings before retiring from the world. Lao Tzu left him a mere 5,000 words. Then he set off over the pass, never to be heard of again. Other legends say he headed west to convert the barbarians and to spread his teachings throughout Central and South Asia. As we enter into the visualization of seeing Lao Tzu, the humble man of few words, of perfect expression of the conundrums of life and appealing to those around him, we begin to feel warm in our hearts that we are approaching a friend and about to embark on a journey with him as he unfolded the mysteries of the Tao that came to him through that fire of the heart that is always the sign of the true mystic. The tiny book attributed to Lao Tzu, known as the Tao Te Ching, has become one of the most sacred works of the East. Next to the Bible, it has been translated more than any other book in the world. The Tao Te Ching is so enigmatic and mystical that over 1,500 commentaries have been written on it. Some scholars believe the book is really a collection of sayings by several authors, or that it contains the teachings of some ancient sage, possibly Lao Tzu, that were transmitted orally and written down in the 4th or 3rd century BC. The Tao Te Ching was originally known as the Lao Tzu. Later, an emperor of the Han Dynasty gave it the title Tao Te Ching, after the two main concepts of the book. Tao meaning way, it is spelled T-A-O. De meaning virtue or power, spelled T-E. Jing, spelled C-H-I-N-G. Jing is a label given to sacred books. Thus the Tao Te Ching means classic of the way and its power. The Tao Te Ching is a how-to book. The 20th century translator and scholar Wing-Sit Chan says, 80% of the Tao Te Ching is devoted not to the substance of Tao, but to its function, particularly to its operation in society. Perhaps Taoism and its ancient teachers were the very first ones to present to us a path of true pragmatism. How does the universe work, and how do we work in the midst of the great Tao? The chief subject of the book is how to live. It includes teachings on ethics, government, and diplomacy. Much of the Tao Te Ching is addressed to the sage ruler. The sage ruler. Oh, for one sage ruler in the United States of America. Some therefore believe Lao Tzu was speaking to an elite group. But as Wing-Sit Chan points out, this is not the case. The sage, he says, is no more than an ideal person which everyone could become through practice of Tao. Here we have a religion and a thinker who is democratic before his time. Total democracy, each individually. One man rule, one woman rule, under his own vine and fig tree, under the great Tao. Personally, I believe this ideal person to be the real self of each one of us that we can become. As shown on the chart of your divine self, this real self of you is the only begotten Son of God, one Son of God. God took a photograph of that Son and placed that image and likeness right above you so that you could become the imitator of the Son, so that you could look upon the Son and be all that he is. Our Bible from the Judeo-Christian tradition says that we were made in the image and likeness of God. The image and likeness of God is this Son, this real self. So when we look in the mirror of self and we look crooked, we need to look up and look into the mirror of the Son of God. And then we will see how we ought to look, how we really look at inner levels. And then we can chisel the form and the face and the character and the heart and the desires and find ourselves in his likeness. John the Beloved, the great mystic, who no doubt had threads and ties to Eastern traditions through the heart of Jesus and the Buddha, gave such a profound statement. He said, "Beloved, now are we the sons of God, but it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure." This concept is of pure Taoism. We know we are sons and daughters of God, yet who are we? What do we look like? None of us really knows. We don't see our real image in the mirror. Other people have to tell us what we are like. But when we know we are sons and daughters of God, and we know that that Christ, that Son, will appear, and when he does, we shall be like him, and when we see him as he is, we will be able to fashion ourselves in his likeness. The true focus and road then to our identity on earth is contact with the inner real self. Jesus showed us the way of this path. Abraham and Moses and Buddha, Zoroaster. Today we take up the way outlined for us by Lao Tzu. It is a joyous and warm path. We feel the radiance of the heart of Lord Lanto and Confucius and Lao Tzu as they are brothers together on the path, quickening us to our inner reality. This Christ presence is the guardian of your soul. He is the perfect man with whom your soul merges when she is perfected in the great Tao. The merging takes place gently, daily, little by little, as we go after the rough spots and make the rough places plain, to exalt every valley of our emptiness, to reach the peaks of our pride and level them, to come to this understanding of what we are. It is an eternal quest, and being on the path of the ascended masters compels us to intensify that quest. The perfect man, the perfect woman is our ideal. If this man or woman, this Son of God, did not exist as part of ourselves from the beginning, we could never aspire to realize the fullness of that perfect self-image here below. Thus, our Father has not left us alone. Our Father has come and comforted us with the presence of the Son of God. By that presence and that image, we can live, and we can walk the ascending spiral up the mountain of God. We can climb that highest mountain, and we can realize that we can merge with that living Son. This is the joy of the path, that we are able to follow the way back to God, because God has so loved us that he has placed that image of his only begotten Son right within our hearts. Let us be glad today and rejoice in that supreme quietness of a profound sense of the presence of God and love in our hearts as we commune together. It is good to pause together and to be together, just to be undistracted, so that we can remember that God is where we are. In the Chinese tradition in general, and in Taoism in particular, everyone has the potentiality to become a sage. Indeed, the real self, who is everlasting, is the seed potential of all that we can and shall become. Listen to the difference between the word we can and we shall. We can means we have the potential to do it. We can do it if we want to. But when we say we shall, That means we have decided and we have mobilized all of our forces to become the fullness of that potential, to realize it. And so this we shall do if we have the heart and the will to unlock the mysteries of the Tao. Some of you have told me that you don't quite understand Taoism. You didn't quite get it when I gave my earlier lectures. I urge you to re-listen and rethink them, because this is a very gentle and a precious way. Jesus said we have to enter by the front door. We can't go around the side or the back door to find him. But in a sense, the Oriental path is like saying, well, I couldn't really understand the front door, so I went around to the back door, and I found the other side of the teaching of my Lord, and now the whole thing makes sense. I can witness to you that I am a better Christian today for having studied Taoism. So I hope it'll do the same for you. Because the mysteries of the Tao are the mysteries of Christ and Buddha, of Abraham and Melchizedek, of Moses and the prophets, of Maitreya, Padmasambhava, the apostles of God, the sons and daughters of the solitude. The ideal ruler described in the Tao Te Ching is a combination of ruler, sage, mystic, and inspired seer who communes with supernatural beings. That is the ideal ruler. He communes with supernatural beings, beings in the plural. This doesn't say there is more than one God. It simply says that many have gone before us and attained to the real self. And when we are moving in that direction, then we can have that contact, because we aspire to their vibration, to their place in the universe. And so there begins to be a resonance and a sense that these supernatural beings are there. We call them ascended masters. And soon they become more and more real. As we define God where we are, we can clearly see God where they are. Believe me, it's as simple as that. The culmination of the mystical experience is contact with the immortals. Lao Tzu's ideal ruler is the perfect man, the man who is one with the great Tao and with all who have ever attained union with it. What is the Tao? We rehearse what is the Tao each time we think of it. It's like meditating on God. How shall God reveal himself to us today? The term Tao was used in ancient China long before the founding of Taoism. Some ascribe the concept to the legendary Yellow Emperor who lived during China's Golden Age, almost 5,000 years ago. The Tao literally means way. Originally, it probably meant road or path, and was later used to describe a method or correct course of conduct. In Confucianism, Tao means the way of right conduct. But in Taoism, it connotes the nature of the universe, or the way the universe operates. You may not think it's important to know the way the universe operates, but it is all important, because you are simply a microcosm of the great macrocosm. The Chinese character for Tao is made up of two elements. The one on the left represents the feet. It means moving on, to run. To run or to progress by degrees. The one on the right represents the head or a leader. Wing Sit Chan says the two elements, the head and feet, originally conveyed that on which something or someone goes, a path or road. Author Gene Cooper says the two elements together suggest intelligent movement along a way, as well as a pupil following a master. The combination of the head and feet, she says, also implies the whole man and all that is in conformity with the laws of nature. In Taoism, the Tao is the transcendental first cause, the absolute, the ultimate reality. The Tao is boundless, infinite, and all-pervading. For Lao Tzu, the Tao is that which preceded the creation of heaven and earth. And so we are back again to that which precedes the known God. We are back to the unmanifest God before the creation. It is called the Absolute, the ultimate reality, the nameless, the portal of all mystery, the cosmic order. Some liken it to the Atman of Hinduism, the suchness of Buddhism, the Ein Sof of Kabbalism, or the monad of the Greeks, that which has neither qualities nor attributes. The Tao is the animating principle of life that sustains all creation and is in all creation. As one Taoist sage said, the Tao is closer to you than the nose on your face. The Tao is the essence of everything, and yet Lao Tzu said you can never really put your finger on it or give it a name. He wrote, "There was something undifferentiated and yet complete, which existed before heaven and earth. Soundless and formless, it depends on nothing and does not change. It operates everywhere and is free from danger. I do not know its name. I call it Tao. If forced to give it a name, I shall call it great. Being great means functioning everywhere." The Lao Tzu also taught that the Tao is the Great Mother who creates and nourishes all things. Translator Ellen Chun considers the Tao Te Ching a hymn to the power and love of Tao as the Great Mother. Lao Tzu said, "The world has a source, and it is the mother of the world. I value drawing sustenance from the mother. All things depend on the Tao for life, and it does not turn away from them. It clothes and feeds all things, but does not claim to be master over them. Having known the mother, we may proceed to know her children, that is, the things of this world. Having known the children, we should go back and hold on to the mother." Translator Michael Lafargue says the meaning of this is, "Don't get too caught up in the children, that is, in worldly affairs, and forget to turn back to the internal mother, the Tao." All of the above on the great Tao and the mother and the concept of first cause takes us back to the chart of your divine self given to us by Saint Germain. The upper figure in the chart is the I am that I am, God individualized and personified as our Father, Mother. But the concentric spheres of light energy consciousness are causal, undefined, unlimited being. They are the cause behind all causations, hence first cause, the mother of all as well as the father of all, the unity out of which diversity springs forth. And so the 12th century philosopher Zhu Xi wrote, "No being made the Tao, for it is being itself. It is the cause and effect of all. All things originate from Tao, conform to Tao, and to Tao they at last return. Tao is more than the way. It is the way and the way-goer. Tao is the way and the way-goer." For a moment you can actually imagine your feet melding with the road, and all of a sudden you and the road are one. It is the eternal road. Along it all beings and things walk. See us all now walking down the great highway in China. Where are we walking and where are we going? What did we discover in those ancient embodiments? How have we arrived at this place all together in time and space? Nothing else could have brought us together except the Great Mother, the great Tao. And through the great Tao, in this great oneness we share, of understanding, of communion, of knowing, we then reach out. We reach out through our ashram rituals, our mantras, and we extend what we are across this great web of light, which is called the Antakarana, the web of light that joins all who are on the same wavelength of the great Mother Tao, which is the great causal body, of which there is a replica right over you right now. And thus it is written, perfected people lean on a pillar that is never shaken and travel a road that is never blocked. What is that pillar that is never shaken and that road that is never blocked? It is the Tao, the way. The Tao and the way are there. We are in the Tao and the Tao is in us. But it is like anything else. If we don't put our attention on it, if we don't enter the stream of the second-ray masters of wisdom on a daily basis, then we think we are separate from the great Tao, and we mourn our loss, and we don't know why we are mourning or what we have lost. It's like Mother Mary has said to us, give the rosary, and I myself will be where you are, and you will have my light and life, and that great support and connection. And so there is a place in Taoism for the teacher and the pupil. There is a sense of the Alpha and the Omega, and of the Yin and the Yang. And in that we understand ourselves to be essential, the essential part of the whole. We are in polarity with the great Tao, even when we are the great Tao. And being in polarity with the great Mother Tao, we can anchor that great presence and that great flame in the earth, and thereby continue to know the serenity of feeling an inner completeness, an inner wholeness, because our cosmic conception of ourselves is all-inclusive. We are included in the point of our origin, in the great first cause. And that great body that is the Tao that cannot be defined, we feel as a presence. It is an abiding presence of love, nearness, nourishment, cherishment, self-worth, beingness, the sense that we can fulfill our purpose because the great Mother, the great Tao, both personal and impersonal, is moving us on to that ultimate goal of wholeness. And so the goal of the Taoist, and we are all Taoists today, is to realize oneness with the Tao. Remember, it is a oneness which we already have. We simply need to get into that wavelength. For a mystic is someone who seeks the direct experience of and union with God. So in this sense, all Taoists are mystics, seeking that oneness. The heart of Taoism is the heart of Christian mysticism and of all mysticism of the world's religions.
You're watching Elizabeth Clare Prophet, world-renowned author and founder of Summit University. Summit University is located at the beautiful Royal Teton Ranch in Park County, Montana, just north of Yellowstone National Park. If you'd like more information, call 1-800-245-5445. That's 1-800-245-5445.
Scholar Livia Cohn says, Taoism relates directly to the personal experience of oneness with the Tao. For the Taoist mystic, a life in the Tao is the only true way of being in the world. But union with the Tao is not a matter of uniting two separate objects. For the Taoist understands this mystery. The Tao is not only the one from which all things are created. The Tao is all created things. Therefore you can affirm, I am the Tao. It is awesome, especially when you have some even glimmer of a hint of what this great Tao is, this great, enormous sphere of being. It's like imagining yourself under the largest planet you can conceive of, under a Jupiter or under a great central sun, and here's this tiny person and this great, 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 great sphere. That is the awesomeness of it. That we are the Tao, and yet we are a little point of light in the Tao. Somewhere in my meditations in this life, I can remember experiencing this great, great, great sphere. It was tangible, it had weight. And what I remember about it is that it had a sound. It had a hum that was coming from it. And I was outside of it in this position of contemplating what was being shown to me. And that is all there was to it. The sense of the ultimate presence of beingness, and that it had a sound that was a cosmic hum, and that I was a part of that hum and a part of that sphere. I would like you to think of this teaching when you look at the chart of your I Am Presence. It is no longer flat with 7 color bands. It is pulsating spheres of light and levels of consciousness and octaves of absolute God perfection. A place where you can journey. It is an entire cosmos. And you are that cosmos, and the cosmos is you. And these are not words, because as I just said, I have glimpsed this presence. And I know what we are tied to and what we are a part of. So think of that when you give your tube of light call. When you call forth that light and that presence of what actually is coming upon you, how it is the infinite God, right there every day when you call for that tube of light. You establish that oneness with the great Dharmakaya, the great body of first cause. In his book, The Secret and the Sublime, John Blofeld wrote what a Taoist told him about this principle. He said, "In the Tao, all creatures and objects have their being. The same may be said of your goldfish and the water in which they swim, but the likeness is only superficial. One could take a fish out of water and put it back, but the separateness of creatures and objects either from one another or from the Tao is illusory. Apart from the totality which is the Tao, they have no being. The Tao and the myriad objects are not two. The Tao's creations are the Tao." I think the sense that we have of being separate from one another is something that at times is very comforting. We would not like to be a part of all of the households of the world and all of the karmas of those households and the arguments of the people and their experiences. We're so glad for our little patch of earth, our cot, our little room, whatever it may be, because within that definition, we can be in our own space, in our own consciousness of the Tao. To come to the realization that there really is not a separation, to feel world pain as well as the allness of God, is quite another dimension of living. I can tell you that I myself do not abide in it at all times, but there are times when I must abide in it. And so it goes from the agony to the ecstasy, because when you enter oneness with life, you are also one with all of these supernatural beings, these ascended masters. And so there's a downside and an upside and a front and a back. when we understand yin and yang. Thinking of that experience that I had and telling you that I was on the outside of this great sphere shows a step in consciousness of becoming aware of the sphere and also being aware that one is not yet fully a part of it. One hasn't reached the fullness of the state of absolute union. We can compare this to a mural. All the knights and their horses, the captains and their hosts, are merely outlines on a mural. They do not exist apart from the mural. They are made of the stuff that the mural is made of. So even so, I am an outline drawn upon the Tao, and I and the Tao are one. I would not want to exist without the Tao. The Tao is what I am. I may not know what that means, but at least I have something to hang on to. I am the Tao. The Tao is what I am. The Tao is I am. The Tao is the warp and woof, the very fabric of my being. When I say I and the Tao are one, I am saying I and my father are one, and I and my mother are one. Nothing exists outside the Tao. I am inside the Tao. The Tao is myself, and I am the Tao's self. Now, when you think about it, we should not try to wrest from the cosmos the ultimate definition of ourselves, because we are limited in form. We are in a state of mortality. We exist on a very narrow band of a spectrum of color. And so, when we think about who we are and we say, I am the Tao and the Tao is me, we recognize we don't understand this completely, but verbalizing it and contemplating it and meditating upon that point of light, we know that day by day we are assimilating more of what we know we are, but will not see the fullness and the likeness of until we are actually ascended in the light and free. And so today we have to come to grips with a very partial awareness of self. And this is very frustrating. We sometimes think we don't know ourselves at all. We wonder how others see us. We wonder if there's any objectivity anywhere. And of course we come back to the fact that we are points of light in the great sea of being that is this great sphere of the Tao. So there is something to the mystery of the path whereby little by little glimpses of what we shall be appear. It seems to be what makes us keep on going, keep on knocking on doors, keeping on pressing on the walls and wanting to push them out. Because that, after all, is our goal, ultimately defining being in all levels, and therefore having being in all levels. The so-called perfect man, that is, the man made in the image and likeness of the Tao, has fully realized the mystic goal. He has become one with the great Tao. He is the perfect image of the way, a personification of the Tao. We would call such a one a master, perhaps an unascended master who lives on earth in bodies like ours, perhaps an ascended master who is beyond our sight and who lives in an ascended master light body. On the chart of our divine self, we see the lower self as first uniting with a perfect man. That is the first goal when we step on the path. This man is the Son of God, whom we call the Christ. But the Christ is not limited to the Christian dispensation. It is a word meaning light, or the manifestation of light, the Greek word Christos. And so it is a term used for the real self of all people, no matter what their religion. Once we unite with this real self, in whose image and likeness we are made, we then may move on, bonded to the Christ or the Son of God, we spiral up to the point of the I am that I am and the causal body, and we see the causal body depicted on this chart, manifested personally and individually, in reality now above us. It is a replica of the one great Tao, and you can think of it as a single monad, a monad like many other monads, like cells in the body of God. And so you have that unique presence, and you know that the Buddhas who have gone before you have accomplished this union. And while they were in the process of so becoming who they were known as bodhisattvas, or disciples of the middle way. The middle way is the way of your real self, your Christ self. And so that is the place of the bodhisattva or the disciple on the path. The disciple on the path is in the process of merging with his real self, or he has already become one with a real self. Today, our role models for this path are the ascended and unascended masters. We know them today as we knew them in their past embodiments. For each past life is a step on the ladder, bringing us closer to the fusion of our consciousness with the great Tao through the perfect man. The perfect man, then, is the mediator, the Tiferet of the Kabbalah, the midpoint in the great tree of life, the nexus in the hourglass and in the figure-8 pattern. All energies flow from the great Tao through the nexus of this person of the sun, pass through us and ascend again. And so there is a continual movement of the light descending, refreshing, reinvigorating, giving us life and consciousness, and going back through the heart of this midpoint, this focus in the center of the tree of life. This is why it is written of Jesus Christ, who came embodying that Son of God, that he came not to condemn the world, but that the world through him might have everlasting life, that through him the people of earth might be saved for the experience of self-transcendence. To attempt to go around the very center and nexus of our own being is to deny the fruition of this wholeness above and this wholeness below. We can come to know the Tao by studying how the perfect man acts and what he says, or to put it in Taoist terms, how he doesn't act and what he doesn't say. The perfect man is in complete harmony with the laws of the universe, and all his ways reflect the movement of the Tao. He is called a companion of heaven. Don't you feel that that describes you? Don't you like to feel that you are a companion of angels and nature spirits and souls of light who've moved on in the scales of being? A companion of heaven, a companion of higher octaves and those who inhabit them. For Lao Tzu, the sage, is not a hermit who retreats from the world to pursue his own private path. The sage unlocks the mysteries of the Tao and seeks to help others do the same. He is motivated not by his own desires, but by the needs of others. He knows precisely what each person needs and acts to fulfill that need. Because the sage has this quality, I submit to you that the sage is the embodiment of the great Tao as mother. The great mother knows what each of her children needs. Because the sage embodies the cosmic order of the Tao, the sage brings order, harmony, and peace to everyone around him, including his family, community, state, and empire. In Taoism, the accomplished mystic, says Kohn, is whole within himself. He easily communicates with the world above and has an enormous impact on the political and social order of his time. The 12th century Taoist sage Wang Jia explained, people who attain the Tao are physically in the ordinary world, but mentally in the realm of sages. The body is like a lotus root. The mind is like the lotus blossom. The root is in the mud, but the blossom is in the air. One of the characteristics of the Taoist sage is that he transforms those around him without them ever being aware of it. The Taoist sage is one with a great Tao. His aura is therefore the presence, the powerful presence of that Tao. Therefore, he is like a star or a planet of greater weight or mass or magnitude. And so his presence has the greater influence. And therefore, he transforms those around him into that presence which he has realized. He is unassuming, yet incredibly powerful. The power of his example and the power of the Tao within him are an irresistible force that magnetizes people to the Tao and makes them change their erring ways. When they are magnetized to the Tao, they are magnetized back to the first principles, the first causes. They can let go of, they are demagnetized of all that is the misuse, the mismanifestation of those perfect patterns. The Tao Te Ching teaches the sage embraces the One, the Tao, and becomes the shepherd of the world. It is not so longer awesome to become the shepherd of the world, because your shepherding is by the great causal body of the Tao around you, and you are simply centered in the center of that sphere, and you can feel the great concentric rings of God repolarizing the planet and the people to a higher way. The sage says, I do nothing, and the people themselves are transformed. I love tranquility, and the people themselves are upright. The Tao literally radiates through the perfect man. The Taoist text, called the Zhuangzi, says when a man's inner integrity is not kept together, that is, when the qualities of the Tao within are so strong that they cannot be kept inside a person, something oozes out of his body and becomes an aura, which being outside of him, presses on the hearts of others. It makes other men honor him more than they honor his elders and betters. The true sage, now living in hardship, can make his family forget their poverty. Living in affluence, he can make kings and dukes forget their titles and stipends and humble themselves before him. His approach to people is to take pleasure in the progress of others and to hold on to what is his own. That is such a profound line. Sometimes we don't quite have the right balance of yin and yang. And so when people come along and they want this and they want that, instead of giving them the byproduct of what we are, we let them pick and tear away at the very bedrock of our being. This cannot be. We cannot become the perfect man or the Taoist sage if we do not guard the integrity of what we are. I was observing a seagull on the beach who had caught a great crab. This crab was alive and struggling, while the seagull, with absolute adeptship, knew which bite to take where out of this crab, while the crab was still struggling to be free. He did not kill his prey, he was eating him alive, all of him. I had never quite seen this take place in such a way before. So what do we find? The seagull had a greater evolution and development of the Tao. He did not give up himself, but caused another to become part of himself. So the seagull is now the seagull who contains the crab. To hold on to what is his own. So the seagull decides what is his integrity, his integration with his inner blueprint, and then he is able to take into himself that of another creature that is less identity, less integration, less awareness, less evolution. And of course, this goes through the entire animal chain, the food chain, the greater absorbing the lesser. We need to be careful that we have such integrity that neither the lesser nor the greater can take from us the causal part of ourselves. When we begin to allow that part of ourselves to be disturbed and to be taken from us, this is when we go into that state of being incomplete. And this is where we have to begin to deal with our psychology. Somewhere, sometime, someone convinced us that we should surrender the causal part of ourselves. We cannot continue to exist if we do not keep that self and see that it grows and increases because we are unfolding more of our selfhood. That is the yang force of ourselves. Outside it is the yin, as the light emanations of the sun are distinct from the sun itself. And so the rays that go forth from us, we can easily give away because we have our central sun intact. We cannot give away the core identity. So without saying a word, the sage induces harmony in others. Just standing alongside others, he can cause them to change until the proper relationship between father and son has found its way into every home. Men cling to the sage as children who have lost their mother. He makes heaven his guide, and men make him theirs. Taking off from the portrait of the perfect man, let us explore the Tao within. The power of the Tao is not the exclusive property of the sage, or of you, or of me. Taoism teaches that everyone has the potential to become the sage, because everyone simply has the Tao within them. The 5th century Taoist text, the Shishang Jing, says that Lao Tzu taught, human beings are within the Tao. The Tao is within human beings. The Tao is not only within me, rather, the myriad beings all have it. The myriad beings don't know about it, but the Tao naturally rests with them. I would say that at this stage, the Tao is dormant. It awaits the coming of the rain and the sunshine to germinate, its green sprouts appearing just at the surface of consciousness. This sprouting of the Tao is the Buddhist thought of enlightenment, bodhicitta. Taoist sages taught that you should never seek the Tao anywhere outside of yourself. The Tao Te Ching says, one may know the world without going out of doors. One may see the way of heaven without looking through the windows. The further one goes, the less one knows. Therefore the sage knows without going about. Joshi said, we need not talk of empty and faraway things. If we would know the reality of Tao, we must seek it within our own nature. Each has within him the principle of right. This we call the Tao, the way. Specifically, we call the principle of right, in Jeremiah's terms, the Lord our righteousness, and in the terms of Saint Germain and Jesus Christ, the Holy Christ self, the middle figure in the chart. The 18th century Taoist adept, Liu Yiming, called the Tao within the original essence. The original essence. When you say the word and meditate on it as a substance, you can feel the vibration of your own original essence. Just think about it. I cannot think of adjectives for it, but I can feel that I have an original essence, and I can sense what it is. This original essence Buddhists call the seed of the Buddha. The Tao is in the body, Liu Yiming wrote. Within the body is hidden another person who always accompanies you whatever you do, awake or asleep. It is always there. Looking, listening, talking, walking, it is very, very close. This is not the awareness of conditioned knowledge. It is the original sane energy, vitality, and spirit. If you seek this in terms of form or shape, you are mistaking the servant for the master. The body is not the master. The body is simply the servant of a higher master, the great TAO.
For more information on the mystical paths of the world's religions, call toll-free 1-800-245-5445. The preceding program was presented by Summit University, Box 5000, Livingston, Montana, 59047 5000. For your free copy of Elizabeth Clare Prophet's best-selling book, The Human Aura, call this toll-free number, 1-800-245-5445. This is a limited-time offer, so call now for your free book. That's 1-800-245-5445.